And go.
If there's one thing I've come to realize, it's that any podcast after Wednesday that we do will never be better.
No.
And I can guarantee you right now this podcast, or this episode, will be far worse.
Except we have special guests here with us in the... I'm kidding, no we don't. It's just us today. It's us, the host of the Winged Wheel podcast. I'm Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
I'm Evan.
That's Evan.
That's Evan.
And we've continued our streak.
He doesn't actually have a last name. He's got the Madonna thing.
I know what you freaks will do.
We really should send Ron and Carrie a gift basket because I think they've invigorated Evan. He's found new life in this podcast.
It's true.
Yeah, his investment has risen exponentially. Emotional and physical investment. We see him. We can touch.
It's true.
It's him.
My favorite response that we got from that interview with Ron was someone messaged us and like, wait, when did I start listening to a legitimate podcast? And I'm just like,
you suckers baited me. Like, yeah, the bait and switch.
Sometimes we have to fake it.
Fake it till you make it, or just fake it forever, which is probably more our likely trajectory. But hey, here we are.
If you guys don't know, our most recent episode, which happened on last Wednesday, which would be the 21st, 20th? I don't know.
What day is it?
Today's
25th?
Sunday, 25th.
Sure.
Yeah,
whatever
21st.
Wednesday was.
21st. Was an interview with Ron McLean, and it's, I think, all of our favorite episode we've ever done. So if you haven't listened to that, pause this, go listen to that, and then come back to this. And welcome back.
Ron McLean said me and him are kindred spirits, and I haven't come down off that high in 4 days.
I mean...
That's how you know he doesn't really know you.
No, yeah.
No, it's fine. It's probably better this way.
It probably is. On this week's episode of the Winged Wheel podcast, we're going to, obviously, Brad and I were talking before the episode, there's a lot that happened, but not anything in the specific shape of a topic. So we're going to talk to you about stuff about the Wings in general, stuff about the league in general, and then we'll probably do a hefty overtime today.
Yeah, we're going to do deep dives off of little things that happen. Because, again, Patrick Laine scoring 5 goals is cool, but how much can we really talk about that? William Nylander may or may not have a contract. We are not talking about that anymore. The Red Wings played some hockey. We'll talk about that, but there's not like that deep dive thing. So we've cherry-picked a couple things that have happened, and we're going to branch those into deep dives into a couple of people.
So starting off, the Detroit Red Wings. Since the last time we saw them, or since the last time we talked, but we didn't really talk about the game, they are on a 2-game losing skid.
Yeah, they've had 3 games since the last episode. Because they played right after we interviewed Ron.
Yeah.
That was the win against Boston, I believe.
Was that it?
Yeah, and then they lost to Washington.
Win against Boston.
And then they lost to Buffalo. I'm going to start with just a very minor rant before we get into the details. There is nothing more anticlimactic than watching 2 of the hottest teams in the NHL play an absolutely terrific 60 minutes of hockey, play a great 5 minutes of overtime just to have it end in a shootout. I mean, and I am actually saying that in a serious tone, like saying watching the 2 hottest teams play a great game, and I'm talking about the Buffalo Sabres and the Detroit Red Wings. Sounds insane, but legitimately, this is a factual statement about the game Saturday, and it was a great game. Neither team dominated, back and forth, fantastic hockey game, and then it ends in a shootout. I am so done with shootouts. With how many chances there are in 3-on-3, if you just put an extra 5 minutes on that, 98% of games end in that time.
And to think that however long, not too long ago, we had 5-on-5 overtime and so many more shootouts.
Yeah.
How gross was that? Shootouts were cool for the first season, and then, oh boy, did that get old fast.
Shootouts... Here's the problem with shootouts. Shootouts were cool back when, because we would see some really crazy stuff every once in a while. But to get the really crazy stuff, the downside is you need a ton of shootouts. So back a few years ago, before we had 3-on-3, when we had the 4-on-4, the 5-on-5 overtime, whatever it was, most games went to a shootout, so guys were playing in 20-something shootouts a year, so they decided to try some stupid through the legs or one-handed or whatever dumb stuff. And it would work a bunch of the time because, again, when there's 4 given shootouts any night, there you go. So that was cool. Now there are admittedly a lot less shootouts, which is pro, but because there's less, guys take it more seriously, and we don't see the cool stuff as much anymore unless it's Florida and Alex Barkov is coming in.
There's if you think about it this way, a shootout will leave half of a given game's fan base dissatisfied. And we always know the loudest group is the vocal minority, which is the people who are the most upset. And thus, shootouts were never really long for this world. But I'm happy about it because I was part of that group. And I genuinely think the game of hockey is better having shootouts be so much more rare. I do think you're on the right path, though, to say, tack on a little bit of time of 3-on-3. Because it's not as taxing. Like, your shifts are, like, what, 15, 20 seconds? And if you're out there longer, it means you got scored on. So.
And it's 3-on-3. You only dress 18 skaters for a game, which means if you're worried about conditioning and all that stuff, you can literally send your guys out there every 6th shift. It's only as taxing as you need it to be. Now, that being said, I would never trot, like, a Jonathan Erickson onto the ice in there, but I'm just saying.
Or a Trevor Daly.
Oh, but they do. Anyways. One episode I'm going to do a deep dive on Daly. Not this episode because I don't have any of the research to back it up other than those series of tweets Prashant sent me. In summary, yes, Trevor Daly is like historically bad this year. And there's everything to back it up. The eye test, the numbers, the stat, it's all bad.
For those of you who like memeing about Brad, your new counter should be a deep dive counter. Every time Brad says deep dive.
Well, I only said it this episode because we didn't have any actual things to do it on. It was just...
It's a deep dive.
It was going to be a very shallow episode.
I remember how a couple episodes ago I called on our Swedish friend Master Halden too, the one who made the Brad Hipster video.
Yeah.
I called on him to make that clip of you saying that you're a Ken Holland apologist. And I actually want to share with everyone what he came up with. I don't think I showed you this yet.
No.
I was saving it. So it's a voice clip, and I think it's just loading.
Over the last 2.5 years, I have basically agreed with almost everything Ken Holland's done. Hi, everybody.
Oh, but you cut out
This is Brad,
that.
one of the hosts of the Wing Wheel Podcast. Today, we're going to have a very calm and reasonable discussion on the expansion draft.
Oh, is this back when we protected Howard?
That being
Yeah.
said, Father Ken Holland yesterday.
That was 2.5 years in between.
Yeah.
And you cut off the context.
The record is there. We have the receipts, Brad. We have the receipts.
You are every YouTube bait channel right now.
That wasn't. Hey man, you can't fight the proof. It's all
Is
there.
Brad a revisionist?
Brad is a revision. Brad's not a revisionist. He's a selective historian. That's what I'm.
Fair enough.
I am someone who's actually willing to change my opinion as facts change.
Grow up, Brad. Grow up. I don't. Okay. You are. I'm gonna do a thing here because I'm supposed to. My psychiatrist told me I'm supposed to do this. You do that. That's a nice thing that you do. It makes you amenable to be a fellow podcast host. But I do believe, and we should do a deep dive one day on your revisionist history of Ken Holland. Because you moved the goalpost to make him look better. You single-handedly are going to earn him a contract extension, and I will punch you in the throat, sir.
It's almost not... I do the opposite of moving the goalpost. I'm very defined as to where that goalpost was, and it was free agency when we signed Franz Nielsen. Everything before then was terrible, and everything since then has been good. It's very clear when whatever was in his mind shifted. You can almost pinpoint it. The Darren Helm, Franz Nielsen day.
A lot of explanation right now. That's a guilty conscience if I've ever heard one.
Oh, it's just the sound of you doing your mental gymnastics.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
And I mean...
Brad's gonna swing at me today.
I hope so.
Can you imagine?
I would
fight
just
breaks
sit
out.
here and be amazed.
Well, we would actually have to have the podcast on YouTube for that to be satisfactory.
That would be complete. I would be more angry at you for doing it off the camera.
True.
If you hit me off camera, I'd be so angry with you.
We have to redo it.
Yeah, 100. I have a black eye already. Why is it bleeding to start?
Ryan, look to the left.
Yeah. Welcome, Going
and play.
What were we doing? What were
I
we
don't
talking
know.
about?
I think we were talking about something.
We were talking about shootouts. Anyhow, Detroit lost to Buffalo in a shootout. They lost to Washington the game before. The Washington game was funny because Detroit didn't look bad.
Detroit was the better team in that game, pretty definitively overall. They had a couple stretches where they melted down, but hey, it's Detroit. That's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they outshot Washington pretty handedly. They controlled the pace for most of the game. They had a ton of quality scoring chances. I mean, Washington had more scoring chances than their shot total led on, but still. And it just didn't get any bounces. That happens. Because during Detroit's 9-1-1 stretch or whatever it was, they won a couple games they had no business winning. So this is just cosmic karma.
Yeah, this is the average amount of unlucky losses or what have you that comes in an NHL season. I think Mika has just discovered that you're no longer upstairs and is desperately calling for you. Why does she like you so much?
I don't know.
That is weird. Doesn't make any sense, really.
Because Brad's the fun one. Crystal does all the discipline. And Brad...
Actually, not really.
Really?
Crystal's more lenient with her than I am generally.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing I did when I came in, she has this, like, those medicine ball things that you hop around on, but, like, for kids. And I walked in, I went, oh, yeah, we're taking that toy away from the podcast. Yeah, like, the luck for Detroit, to go 9-1, like, a lot had to go their way.
Yeah.
And so the games that they lost, like the Buffalo game and the Washington game, like it is what it is. And truly, the Boston game was also weird. Watching the Boston game was like, I can't form a firm opinion for either team. Like neither team looked phenomenal, but neither team looked good either.
Boston was
or like
also
bad,
heavily
I should
injured.
say.
They were missing a lot of key players. No
Yes.
McAvoy, no Bergeron.
And that's a game that Detroit came away with.
Yep.
Because of
Come
one
back
key.
again.
Yeah.
2 down.
Athanasiou very well may keep this pace in school. I am more confident in Athanasiou's pace than I am in Larkin's. Does that seem crazy?
Not really, because Athanasiou's pace is more focused on one thing, because he's a goal scorer. We're not looking... When we're talking about all the amazing stats for Athanasiou this year, we're just looking at one, his goal pace. He's on... his current pace over an 82-game season is 40-something goals right now. He missed 4 games, so that's a bit of a pipe dream, because his... factoring in those games missed, he's probably not going to hit 40.
Mm-hmm.
But still, the fact that he's even on that pace is, and we're in almost December, is pretty crazy. Larkin's, he can get hot on goals one week, he can get assists the other week, and his point pace is still there, so I think his is probably a little more sustainable, because if Athanasiou has a streak of like 5 games where he doesn't score a goal, his whole trajectory is thrown off. But it's just not that Athanasiou's been scoring. It's that he's actually found a variety of ways to score, which he's never had before. Like the OT goal against Boston. When was the last time we seen Athanasiou beat 2 guys in a puck battle ever? And he did.
Turned around with a great place shot on net like that. He didn't do that. Athanasiou suffered from the same thing Larkin did early on with being kind of one-dimensional or predictable in his game. And he's applied his talent to be dynamic on that offense. Like he's effective so many different ways. He'll set up a great play. He'll fire a quick shot. He'll run the cycle really well in the power play. He'll put himself in the right position. Like he's just so effective right now.
And he's developed that circle one-timer, the Alex Ovechkin special from the opposite side, and he's got that down. They haven't all gone in, but of course they're not going to. But that was something he's never had in his game, and he's let fly a bunch of times in the last couple weeks. And I think, what was it, Carolina, one of them actually went in. And I think he's had another one going that way this year. So, again, it's the completeness of... He's still a one-dimensional player, don't get me wrong. He's all offense all the time. But
yeah.
There's more variety in that dimension.
He's not going to be an effective two-way forward. But
No.
You're talking about players coming out of this rebuild where you need them to be effective on the first or second line, or if Jeff Blashill's still the coach, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, probably the third or fourth line in any given game. You want him to be effective and to be able to produce. You want Larkin, another centerman up there. You need wingers who can slot up and down, left and right, and be that guy, and that's exactly what Athanasiou is showing right now. When we get the random odd comment from people who don't maybe tune in as much to say, like, you guys are too pessimistic, I'm like, no, we're thrilled this year. We're saying the team's going to come back down to reality, and I think that's true. Anyone reasonable would predict that, but it's so exciting to watch the Red Wings, because what we said is you have to pick out the things to be happy about. You have to pick out Athanasiou stepping up as a player. You have to pick out Mantha scoring 30 goals, which I don't know what will happen this season. You have to pick out Larkin stepping up. You have to pick out Zadina coming up and making an impact, which might or might not. But there's a lot to be happy about. And then of course Jimmy Howard's going to single-handedly drag the team to the playoffs.
He's at, like a 922 now or something like that?
Something, yeah. I'm not sure. Was he in net for the Buffalo?
Buffalo, yeah.
And did he hold a 922 for that?
Probably, because Buffalo was up over 30 shots and he only let in 2. So.
Yeah. So he's actually, you know what? There's a good overtime question about that, and we'll chat about it then. But there's a lot to be happy about as a Red Wings fan this season. Like, this isn't bleak. I don't think the timeline has been aggressively pushed closer, but it's looking a little bit more solid that they're moving down that path, the right path, that is.
Yeah.
Do we want to do Blashill first or do Velen-Oh?
Let's do Blashill first. We'll get the more divisive topic out of the way before we just go through the unbridled happiness part of it.
All right. You asked the proverbial question.
So there's been a lot of support for Jeff Blashill floating around the Red Wings subreddit, social medias, yada yada yada, which is to be expected because when a team's good, coach good, team bad, coach bad. And it's hive mentality, right? The people who you really want to look at the opinions they've had the same opinion and they haven't swayed off it, good or bad. They haven't got too high, they haven't got too low. So the question now is Jeff Blashill a good coach? Because the Red Wings appear to be good over this 15-game stretch. The argument in favor of Blashill is, well, he was dealt a crappy hand, so of course he wasn't going to win. You can't win with a 2-7 every hand, right? Then the other people are saying, yeah, but the underlying numbers on this team are still bad, and this is a bit of a fluke. So, where do you guys stand?
This isn't original for me, because I've kind of always been anti-Jeff Blashill lately. I don't think you can selectively pick out a 10-game sample size where the Red Wings go 9-1 and say that fixes the other 200 games surrounding, in which there have been a lot of shortcomings that have come purely from systems and development and things that are kind of have to be pinned back on the coach, either directly related or like, the head of the snake kind of thing. I'm sure credit where credit is due. He's got the right guys going. Maybe the locker room's a little bit more confident. He's helped shift the leadership away from Zetterberg into a way that makes the team still move forward with like a locker room full of leadership, maybe a little bit atypical to what they usually have. But you still have far too much weighing on you in terms of, De Kaiser falling off a cliff, Athanasiou before this season doing just not getting the most out of him. Long stretches of games where, because Howard wasn't bailing the team out with a 930 plus save percentage, or what you might have on any given game, they just absolutely get run over. No changes in the systems, which we've noted several times on this podcast. You can go pick out one of 10 audio clips of Brad telling you exactly why their breakout and zone entries are god-awful. One of the brightest points on this team this whole entire season has been the power play, which isn't Jeff Blashill. I think this is a perfect example of the kind of situation that the Red Wings have burned themselves in terms of management, which is that they're associating the good things with the coach or whoever was on the hot seat and forgiving them or giving them a lot of credit, and they're choosing to ignore all the bad things around it. It's like it's like trying to date a shitty person. And they treat you like garbage and they constantly hurt you and you should leave them, but then they surprise you like once and they do like one nice thing once and you're like, oh my god, they're fixed, everything's changed, we're starting fresh now. But does it really cancel out everything in the past, and can you really predict that they're going to be that way for the rest of forever, or was this an aberration? Again, not an optimistic way of thinking. That was very broad strokes. I just don't think he's still the guy. If he keeps this up all season and it's not just Jimmy Howard dragging the team forward, then yeah, sure. But have we seen the fundamental changes to the team's play lately? Not really.
So when this stuff started popping up, I started to watch with a more specific eye in terms of a lot of what coaching would have an impact on, rather than just, watching the general game and picking out the good and the bad points. So I started to look for, okay, what do the Red Wings do well given their talent level in certain positions? Because, let's be honest, when Athanasiou, Larkin, and Mantha are really clicking and Howard's putting up a 940 in a game, it doesn't matter what the hell system you're running out, you're going to win the game. Talent wins out over everything else every time, right? So, Couple things I picked out recently that Blashill's been doing well, in my opinion. For as much as we don't necessarily agree with his pairings or his line match or his line creations, over the course of this winning streak, he hasn't screwed with them. The blender has disappeared. He's only plugged in different players on different lines as injuries dictate. Larkin and Mantha have been together the whole time, and it was Helm until Helm got injured, and then he plugged in Abdelkader there. The Nielsen, Athenis, CU, Nyquist line has not changed. Glendening, Bertuzzi, and Rasmussen, or it was Abdelkader before the injury, was a line that hadn't been changed, and then the fourth line was just whoever was ready to go. Same with the defensive pairings. It's been Jensen, De Keyser, Cholowski, Cronwall, Green, Daly. Again, I have big disagreements with those pairings, but the Red Wings were winning, and what's the old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they were winning, he didn't adjust it. I'll give him credit on that because he's never done that before. The one thing I also noticed that Detroit does better than I think people give the team credit for. For as big of a dumpster fire as this team is defensively, their defensive zone positioning is actually strong. They are a very well-organized team in their own zone. Their defensive struggles come when these defensemen who are incapable of the puck get the puck in a position to clear the zone and then botch it, and then it's chaos. When it's a controlled zone entry with a controlled defense there and everything's well, they're actually really good at being in the right position. And it's a weak defense, and one of the few bright spots on this defense core is a rookie. So I put that on coaching. Whether that's Blashill directly or one of his associate coaches running it, whoever's doing it deserves credit for how, I don't know if smart's the word I want to use in the defensive zone because I don't want to go that far, but they do tend to be in the right place and shut down the right players in the right spots, yada, yada, yada. It's when they start running around and their inability to clear it is when it gets bad. That being said, I have struggled to find, even in this really hot streak, many bright spots other than that where the coaching would affect it. I'm not going to go over it again, but their breakout has not changed, and it's still atrocious. Even on the power play, they are incapable of getting the blue line. It is staggering how good their power play is, considering how rarely they actually get a controlled zone entry. And at 5-on-5, it's even worse. The dump and chase doesn't work. I talked about his line matchups before. I'm sorry, Justin Abdelkader's not winning these puck battles. You need to find another option, and he doesn't. You have guys on every line. You have Mantha and Larkin on the first line. You have Nyquist and Athanasiou on the second line. You have Bertuzzi on the third line. You have guys who can comfortably enter a zone with the puck that do not require a dump and chase. Find an alternative. You have guys who can skate. We do not need the 90-foot pass cross ice to a dude standing still at the red line.
That's a remnant of the Babcock era that just has no, like, it's a remnant of an era where Detroit had so much insane talent, like Lidstrom making that pass and like Datsuk over near the second blue line, not cherry picking. And Babcock went, well, we have the talent to make this pass, but for some reason it has just persisted within Detroit's culture and systems. But like, you can't do that. It's like having it's like when you used to have Aaron Rodgers, and you used to throw a Hail Mary when you didn't need to, just because, why not take the shot if you have a guy who can make it? And then now you have, I don't know, Josh Allen, who is a bad example because he actually has a great arm. But you have a high school quarterback, but you're still running the same play. Anyways, sorry to cut you off, but it's just, that's a huge frustration for me.
Yeah, and again, so you go through the metrics underneath the Red Wings' current winning streak. It largely says this was a fluke. That's the reality of it. It's great that they're winning, but the way that they have been winning in this streak is because Jimmy Howard and Jonathan Bernier have been playing stupidly good. The top high-skill players on this team, the Larkin, the Athanasius, the Manthas, have been carrying them. This win streak was not on the back of the Abdelkaders, the Helms, and the Glendennings of the world. It's easy to win when your skill guys are performing. That's the reality of it. It's hard to win when Larkin has an off night and you can't get anything out of your depth players. And by all accounts, this team does not get anything out of their depth players, and that's on the coach. Because again, with a good system, a guy like Darren Helm or Justin Abdelkader or Christopher N can trip and fall into some goals. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen on this team. And then that gets into the whole thing, dressing Christopher and Jacob De La Rose on the same line, who are basically the identical players of each other. It's
I like this guy. I like the way he works. I like his attitude. I like his work ethic. I like what he brings to the locker room. More of him should be good.
2 of him.
That's double the amount of good, Brad.
My
Math
favorite.
checks out.
I think by shot metrics, Jacob De La Rose is actually one of the most boring players in the NHL because he doesn't generate any shots for, but he also doesn't give many up. Just generally nothing happens when he's on the ice.
He shouldn't.
It's good if you're winning.
Yeah.
And none of this is like an indictment. Like, by no means through all of this are we saying, no, don't give credit to Blashill. He's still bad. Hate him.
I give him credit for the things he's doing well.
Yeah, what we're saying is, I don't think
not
this is gonna.
sustainable.
Yeah, I don't think this will stay. Like, it doesn't. In my mind, you can't take something small like this and make a sweeping declaration about something so big as should this guy be the coach of the team moving forward at such a pivotal moment in this franchise.
One of the oldest sayings in hockey: "Show me a hot goalie,
Fool
I'll
me
show
once."
you a great coach."
And there's your Jack Adams award. Mike Babcock still doesn't have a Jack Adams because of that.
Yeah, because no Red Wings goalie has ever had an unreal year that just
No.
propelled the Red Wings infinity spots higher than they should have.
Best goalie he's ever had, I think, legitimately might be Chris Husker.
Statistically, it's probably Jimmy Howard.
Yeah,
Jimmy had a
honestly.
couple good years for him.
Jimmy dragged Detroit to the playoffs, 2 years undisputedly, and another 2 where you're like, yeah, well, without him, they might not have been that comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this isn't to say, no, Blashill's, there's no way he's ever going to recover his job. I mean, if you're asking me for my opinion, I think it's like a 99% chance he shouldn't get his job back. But this isn't an example of him doing something where, irrefutably, objectively, the guy has earned his job for or earned an extension.
This, even if I was on the fence of I think Blashill was the reason for the winning streak, I don't know if I could keep him on at the end of this year because I've never seen a free agent class of coaches as strong as it is right now. You have your pick of a half dozen coaches who are considered top coaches on this planet right now. Pick one of them. You have years and years of Blashill. Of course the Red Wings are doing better now because the Red Wings are better than they were the last couple of years with Blashill because Larkin took that step. Athanasiou took that step. If you want to say that Larkin, and one of the arguments I've seen is, well, Larkin's turned into a leader and Athanasiou's finally turned around. Okay, well, if you're going to take the success stories as a, hey, here we go, why does Mantha still only score 5 out of every 10 games? Why does he not up here? That's on a coach to get consistency out of a player.
I would love if Mantha scored 5 out of every 10 games.
He's still almost doing it accidentally because he gets really hot for 4 periods and pumps in 4.
But you're making a good point because you take away a Larkin or an Athanasiou from this team right now, and that 9-1 streak goes down to 5-4 really fast.
That probably goes. If you take Larkin and or one of Athanasiou off the team for that streak, it's probably a 3-7.
There's too many players at any given point not producing the way they should. Mantha being a player that needs active coaching and focused development more than anyone else who has offensive ability on that lineup, more than Athanasiou, I would say. It's kind of really disappointing to not see him come close to his goal total from last year so far, when really he should have been making that step into a 30-35 goal guy.
And I haven't even got into my biggest gripe with Blashill yet. There is zero accountability on this team for veteran players.
No, that's
absolutely none.
No.
Again, you can believe in the stat if you want, but again, a couple hockey analytics guys track goals above replacement. It's basically how much better or worse are you than if we just pulled up the next guy into your spot, right? At 5-on-5, by that metric, Justin Abdelkader is the worst player in the NHL this year. Trevor Daley, by just basic shot metrics, if you don't even want to go that deep into it, is one of the worst players in the NHL this year. Have either of them been a healthy scratch this year? Abdelkader, I've given him credit. His first 10 games, he was catastrophically bad. He has improved since. I don't ever put him above the 4th line, but he's been a passable NHL player. Trevor Daley is shockingly bad. You can use the eye test, stats, analytics, it doesn't matter. He's been awful. When Jonathan Erickson gets healthy and comes back, Daly's the guy I'm scratching, but instead he's playing on the top pairing with Mike Green. Like, that's the type of stuff as a coach that's unforgivable to me. Just because the veterans that have been around this league for a long time should mean nothing. If you can go out on the ice, play terrible, make stupid mistakes, if you want to look at just... I think I even retweeted or quote tweeted it. Go look at Tom Wilson's goal against Detroit and tell me what about that play from Trevor Daley was acceptable. Tom Wilson was able to walk up Main Street, walk right into the slot, and fire a point-blank chance that goes in on Jimmy Howard, which doesn't sound like that rare a thing to happen in the game of hockey until you find out that Trevor Daley was actually between Tom Wilson and Jimmy Howard and just did nothing. He just kind of stood there, half-assed, waved his stick. I think he might have even deflected the puck a little bit. It was the worst effort of defending I have seen by a Red Wings defenseman at any point this year. He just didn't... It looked like he didn't care that Tom Wilson was coming in.
He doesn't move, like... He hasn't made the adjustments to his game. He's lost a huge step in the offseason. I really don't understand how... Like, he was never a fast guy, but he could at least move to get himself in the right position. He just doesn't move his feet anymore, and he compounds that with making just basic, like, fundamental mistakes with his stick, with his body, with... Like, he just... His decision-making is poor. And these are the things, like, those are... Like, the Red Wings were expecting to get 2 good years out of Daly, and then the last one's supposed to be, like, at least he could be a good mentor or, like, a serviceable guy who can make the right play if you slow down the game, which what Brad was referring to earlier. When things are moving at a pace where this Detroit D-Corps can keep up, they do okay sometimes with positioning. Except for Daly.
Except for Daly.
He just doesn't do it.
I feel like I'm being mean to Daly lately like I was for Abdelkader at the beginning of the year because I'm tweeting about his mistakes constantly. But every time he steps on the ice, I'm just shocked at how... It's not that he can't skate, it's not that he can't shoot, it's just the things he does are so devastatingly stupid. There was, what was it, the first Buffalo goal. I remember watching this and I was just dumbfounded. There was a puck on the half wall and there was a battle, 3-4 guys were in there digging for the puck, whatever, Daly was on the outside for support. As he should be. Great, I'm happy you're there, Trevor. And the puck kicks out to him. Even though there was a scrum right there, realistically, there wasn't anybody within 5 feet of them, and he had time. All he had to do was turn, and he had 2 options there. Buffalo had some pressure. He could have just put that off the glass and out, hope it doesn't go for an icing. He had Larkin standing right in the slot, so easy outlet pass. There was nobody around Larkin, and there was nobody even in the vicinity of Daly, so you can say, yeah, you don't necessarily want to make that pass through the middle, but there was no risk there based on where everybody was situated. So he had 2 very easy ways to diffuse the pressure Buffalo had there, and time to do it, which is the most infuriating part. Instead, he rims the puck around the boards behind the Wings net, but he doesn't fire it. He just kind of like dribbles it, and it wasn't like he fanned on it. He meant to put it slowly. The only problem is there was no Red Wing anywhere near there because the other defenseman was in the scrum with him. So the puck just kind of floated behind the net to nobody. The closest player to it was a Sabre. He went in, picked it up. 10 seconds later, Jeff Skinner makes it 1-0. So when that puck should have easily been out of the zone. Like, this is not trying to overstate the point. That is a play a bantam defenseman makes.
Alright, I'm going to move us on.
And just doesn't. And it's, ugh. Yeah. Let's talk about happy stuff because I'm just getting angry now.
Joe Velen-Oh.
Okay, I'm happy again.
20 games played, 11 goals, 16 assists for 27 points.
That's good, right?
He's 8th in Q scoring despite playing 4 less games than just about everybody because he was still in the Red Wings camp.
He's looking to be, if you're naming top 3 steals of last year's first round, he's a heavy favorite to enter that group. So far.
Relative to where they were picked, he's probably the top of that list.
Was picked 30th.
Yes.
And Brad said to me, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but Brad said to me that there's now a conversation being had as to who the better first-round pick is for the Red Wings, Zadina and Velen-Oh. I think it's far too early, and you cannot have these conversations.
It's way too early, but
good on Velen-Oh for even making that argument come up.
That was more of a prediction that I have for what conversation might be this offseason if both their seasons continue the way they are. Because it is a little relevant to note that Zadina, despite them being in the same draft, Zadina is a 99 birthday, Velen-Oh is a 2000, so Zadina is essentially a year older than Velen-Oh, and Velen-Oh does play center. Zadina did score in Grand Rapids. He has been playing a lot better lately, so this is absolutely in no way a knock on Zadina, or do I not think Zadina is going to be a 30-40 goal scorer in the NHL still. In no way am I implying that. Velen-Oh has just been so unbelievably dominant in the queue. His game against Moncton yesterday, he had 3 goals and 3 assists. He had a 6-point game, casually. You're just toying with the other team at that point.
Mind you, you know what really is sticking with me is the fact that he came out and had a good camp, and that just really drove home for him how much better he is than the players, like his peers in the queue right now. Like, this is a guy who had exceptional status, but for one reason or another, coaches and teams saw his raw ability, but it never really translated into on-ice performance, at least in terms of offensive output. Still been a great player and was considered a steal at pick 30 even at the time of the draft, but it's one of those guys where they gave him the proverbial tag of just hasn't really put it all together. He came out, had an excellent camp for Detroit, was one of those guys where, like, no, because of the roster issues and his age and,
you knew
he wasn't going to make it, but he played so well where it wouldn't have been crazy under different circumstances for him to at least see 8-9 games with the Red Wings.
If Detroit was in the position that at the beginning of the season that Ottawa was in, he might have made the team.
He might have played. And he went back to the queue, and that camp must have just flipped something in his head when he went, no, I have these tools. I'm just going to dummy these guys.
There's a few things that we need to know, too. If you're one of those guys who'd be like, yeah, he's great, but intangibles matter, does he have them? Leads the queue in shorthanded goals. Leads the queue in game-winning goals. Was a captain of his QMJHL team as an underager last year before he got traded at the deadline. Was a captain for Team Canada internationally. One of the knocks against him in his draft year was he wasn't a goal scorer. He put up a lot of points, but like in Drummondville he had 16 goals and 32 assists. In St. John he had 6 goals, 25 assists. So way more assists than goals, which isn't a problem, but for a guy to be considered a complete player, the goal scoring there. Like Ryan was saying earlier, he's got 35 points this year. 16 of them are goals. It's almost a 1-to-1 ratio for him this year. So he's like, you need me to score goals? Okay, I can do that.
Oh, I think the stats I gave him didn't include a 6-point game.
Yeah. So 16 goals and 35 points in 22 games. He is absolutely on fire right now, and there is literally no aspect of the game of hockey right now where he is not thriving. Goals, assists, penalty kill, power play, whatever you need from him, he is just dominating it. It's not rare for 18-year-olds to make Team Canada for the World Juniors, but it's primarily a 19-year-old tournament because they have that extra year. I would go so far as to say he's almost a lock for that team.
I can't see a world where he's not on it.
Yeah. Him and Jared McIsaac, who's still a point-per-game player as a defenseman in the queue, by the way.
Things to note. For those of you who are going to tear into us, no, we're not saying Velen-Oh is going to be number 1 center in the NHL for sure, lock, guaranteed, better than anyone in Detroit. That's not what we're saying. No, we're not.
Might be.
No, we're not saying he's going to definitely be better than Zadina. He's going to be the greatest draft pick in history. No. What we're saying is this is a player that Red Wings fans should be excited about because he is doing exactly the things that you would have wanted him to do. If he fell to you as a fan of whatever team, you would say, I'm thrilled to have this guy at this value, but wouldn't it even be better if all of a sudden something clicked in his head and he started playing out of his mind and was even better than what you thought he was at pick 30? This is like right now when he's playing at, he should have gone 10 to 15. He's playing like pick 5. As if he should have gone 5th, 6th overall. Like, arguably one of the best centers, not including Kotkaniemi, one of the best centers out of the first round so far.
It's funny, too, because I'm so happy that we spent so many podcasts before the draft saying that if the Red Wings were picking 9 or 10, this might be a guy we should be targeting.
Honestly. The fact that he's a centerman cannot be understated. Like, no one's going to put their chips on the fact that he's going to be Red Wings' number 1 franchise center, but if the Red Wings don't miss out on Jack Hughes this year, or if they miss out on Jack Hughes this year, and then all of a sudden Velen-Oh keeps progressing and Larkin is progressing, and those are your top 2 centermen, it's nothing to scoff at.
And again, we've said this before in the podcast, but I'm going to repeat it. If you want who is Joe Velen-Oh's closest comparable in the entire NHL right now to where they were at in their post-draft year?
Sidney Crosby.
It's, in terms of production, type of player, yada, 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 the best comparable is Dylan Larkin. High-end speed. The goal scoring was there, but nobody ever said it was elite, but great playmaker. The offensive instincts were there. Great two-way player, responsible defensively. That was Larkin's billing at this point. That's Joe Velen-Oh's billing at this point. So, again, are we saying Joe Velen-Oh is going to be this franchise-changing centerman like Ryan was just saying? No. But could Joe Velen-Oh be another Dylan Larkin? Absolutely, yes. That's very much in the cards.
I don't see that. Like, you can't put anything for, like, nothing's firmed up, nothing's concrete, but, like, first 6 months after being drafted, or however long it's been, yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm more thrilled with Joe Velen-Oh than I am with any other Red Wings prospect, really, in the past long while.
He's doing the correct things to have success in the NHL.
Yeah, he's checking all the boxes he needs to, and like he's checking boxes where we're like, oh man, we weren't even expecting to check that box. We thought that ship had long sailed, but here we are.
And we were talking a few episodes ago where it's like, well, the cool thing is because Joe Velen-Oh is an exceptional player in the queue, this is his 4th season in the queue, so he'll be AHL eligible next year, a year earlier. He might never see a game in Grand Rapids, ever. He might be on the Red Wings next year,
and if
very legitimately.
And if he gets a game, or if he gets a game or a season, half a season in the AHL at the age of 19, you know how happy I am about that? You're getting that up to speed, like playing the physicality against pros out of the way before he's 20 years old. Oh my god. That, again, along the Larkin path. Larkin played in Michigan, was playing some tough hockey. And granted, not a full season, but you put Joe Velen-Oh down. A lot to be happy about.
Let's not forget, Nyquist and Vanek's contracts expire this summer. Someone's got to go on that roster and replace them.
Thank God.
Why not Joe Velen-Oh? Nobody else in the system looks like they're more ready than he is. Zadina, maybe.
I'm going to move us along to the rest of the league, because I want to get into the thick of overtime, I think. Fun fact, the points leader, points, save percentage, and goals are all finished. So you have Pecorine leading in save percentage, Laine leading in goals, and Rantanen leading in points.
What are you asking? What are you asking about?
That's a very small country, and we're impressed.
Yes.
I'm just saying. Oh well, if you're a Finnish listener, be mad at Brad and Evan for how they handled that news.
I mean, I'm impressed.
Let's talk about Patrick Laine. Talk about being impressed.
He won a dude $1 million.
Yeah. And didn't that guy? Where's he from? Manitoba.
Somewhere in that, yeah. Because for our American listeners who don't know, a lot of Canadian teams have a partnership up here with a company called Safeway. So when a Canadian team's playing, it's called the Safeway Score and Win promotion. Generally, the rule is if any player on the team you're watching gets a hat trick, you get this like cookware set or whatever.
Ooh.
And then they're like, but then they always advertise, but if they score 5 goals, you win $1 million. And no player on an NHL Canadian team has scored 5 goals in a game since I think the 80s, so they probably thought that was pretty comfortable. Laine pops 5 against St. Louis, and the dude knew before the game, like, hey, you've won. We just need a Jets player to score a hat trick, 4 goals or 5 goals for you to collect the prizes, right? So can you imagine being that guy once Laine popped that 4th goal?
I'd just be waking up right now from yesterday.
You'd be.
How did that stat sheet go? Like in what periods did he score the goal?
He had
a hat trick in the first.
No, I think he had 2-2-1 is how it broke down.
2-2-1.
Yeah,
and they're all pretty filthy too.
He only had 5 shots on net.
Yeah.
Every time he shot the puck, it went in the net.
I was watching Sportsnet this morning, and it was like since the middle of October, his shooting percentage at the start of the season until mid-October was like 6% or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was even lower. And now it's like 38.
going into October.
Sustainable.
Yes.
Yeah, going into November, sorry, he was the guy who, if you asked who's been the most disappointing player in the NHL this year, he came at the top of every conversation.
And everyone was blaming Fortnite.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I love people that keeping, like, they found his account and they're actually keeping track of...
Dude, he played like an average of like 18 games a day.
I don't know how long a game is.
If you're competitive in a game, like your top 3 teams, that's 20 minutes a game.
Oh,
at
Jesus
least.
Christ.
That's a lot. And like, that's just in-game. There's loading screens, there's putting on skins, waiting for your buddies to ready up. That's a lot of game time.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's like, you pretty much have to hope that he does nothing besides train and Fortnite. Because if there's anything else in there, sleep included, that's too much time. But, so he scored 1 in the first period.
Oh, it was 1-3-1?
3 in the second period, and then you have to think he has a whole period to score another goal in a game where they're already up 4, so St. Louis isn't going to pull this.
So that dude had to sit through all of the second intermission knowing that line had 4 goals, and he was 1 shot away from $1 million.
And he did it with it before a minute and a half into the third.
Oh, my God.
Remember on Hockey Night in Canada, like back in the day, there was Score with VTech? And you could win
it's the same
headset.
You'd win a cordless phone.
Yeah. When VTech ceased to exist as a company, Safeway is the company who took that exact thing over.
Okay.
Yeah, you want a cordless phone, which you get from Costco on a Black Friday sale for like $4 now.
They just give them away at the door when you walk in.
They're like, hey, we'll pay you to take this, please.
And you're like, no. Thank God.
The only people who get cordless phones now are the people who get suckered. Like, hey, if you bundle your internet and your cell phone with 8 home phone lines, we'll give you a cordless phone for $5.99 a month.
I actually have a home phone line.
Why?
I just don't have a phone. I
Why?
don't have a home phone, though.
Technically, I do too.
You don't count.
But yeah, because to get Crystal's 50% discount, we have to be subscribed to everything. But I'm pretty sure our phone line cost is like $6.
Yeah,
Brad's wife works for a telecommunications.
Mine's free, and the guy, when he came over to set up, he's like, do you want me to install the phone? I was like, no, that's okay. He's like, do you want to know the number? No, that's okay.
Yeah, you don't know.
Because then it'll ring.
Because then the phone will ring, and that's an issue.
And it's just someone trying to clean my ducts or something.
I had a home phone for whatever reason, I can't remember why, for like 2 months back in like 2010. And the number of spam calls I received was staggering.
Time is running out to get a government rebate on fuel or energy efficient blah 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 blah, and they mask the phone numbers too, or like they spoof the phone. It was my family in Windsor has a home phone, and it just rings off the hook.
My parents got rid of theirs, and I was like, wow. I was actually kind of sad. I'd had that phone number my entire childhood.
Man. It rings too much, and then you gotta go find no one needs to be talking to you that much.
Whenever I go over to my parents' house for dinner, at 6:30 the phone rings, and my mom always gets up. I'm like, no one is calling you except for spam. And sure enough, it's spam.
It's spam.
The underrated part about having a phone with the cord back in the day is you always knew where the hell it was.
True.
If someone put it back, with the cord, yeah.
Where's the phone? Exactly where you left it.
If there was still battery life on the cordless unit, you could press like a help button on the stand.
It's like Find My iPhone.
Yeah. It was the original Find My iPhone.
The Find My Home phone.
The scary part about this is there's probably people legitimately listening to this podcast who are unfamiliar with everything we're talking about.
I fully believe that. Yeah.
My wife has
Who's that?
a 10-year-old nephew who actually asked why the symbol on his cell phone was what it was, because he had never actually seen a proper phone.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah,
Jeez,
that's scary.
Because this is the only shape he's ever known for a phone.
That's terrifying, and it ages us.
It does. I'm gonna do a little bit of a. Oh, I know you didn't want to talk about this, but someone randomly posted on like Twitter or Instagram that they ran into Kyle Dubas, and they said he asked about. He's a Blue Jackets fan, and he asked Kyle Dubas about Nylander, and Dubas said that Dubas said, hopefully we'll have some good, we should have some good news at like 5 p.m. And he tweeted it out, and everyone bought into it for some reason.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
And I was like, the guy seemed genuine, but I have a feeling that like Dubas just said like some kind of like offhanded joke.
Yeah.
Or it never happened because people lie for attention on the internet.
Did we even ever get a timestamp on that picture? He could have got that like last year at a game.
I think it was a real picture because they were playing Columbus. They were playing Columbus that night.
Yeah, he could have just timed it.
But like, and then Bob McKenzie came out and said, for what it's worth, like I'm not saying anyone's lying, but for what it's worth, we've had more reputable people guarantee more or guarantee less, and that was wrong. And he's like, and I'm not hearing anything. Maybe someone else knows. And everyone else is like, oh, this is
Mark
news to me.
Savard tweeted something like they hear they're close on
He said
6.9.
6.9 should do it. It's just the term, which I would actually believe, but the term is a big gripe.
Trying really hard to not.
I
say
know,
nice.
I know. I really hope it comes through, because then the episode title is just gonna be nice. Because if it's 6.9 at 7 years, oh yeah, Dubas is doing that, 100%.
Yeah, why the hell would he not?
But-
If William Nylander held out till almost December just to accept 6.9 over 7 years, his agent should be fired.
Wait, yeah, because that'd be buying UFA years. It was,
Yeah.
I can't remember what.
Either like Nylander wanted like 8.5, so if he ends up coming in almost $2 million under his ask long term, his agent should be fired.
RFA deals are so funny because you essentially have guys at like Nylander's skill level bargaining down the money so they can get lower or shorter term. Like, no, don't pay me 6.9, pay me 6.5, but only for 3 more years, that kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
there is no news on that. Nothing came out. It might soon. Sure, that deadline's coming up. And we've had a lot more. We started saying it like it was a novel concept, and soon after, everyone just kind of started writing articles about it. If this doesn't happen, if the signing doesn't happen, I don't see the Leafs making a trade. They're letting him sit the whole year.
Yeah.
They're playing
Yeah.
hardball. 100% they're playing hardball.
Oh man.
And I just said 100%, so for sure Dubas has a trade lock.
It's probably been announced as we've been talking about it.
Absolutely. Quick recap. Currently, league overall standings. Buffalo is the best team in the league. I'll leave it at that. In the Metropolitan, it looks like none of the teams are trying to win. Washington's currently in first. Columbus right behind, and then the Islanders in third. But it's really a toss-up. Pretty much any team in the Metro could still
The
win.
Islanders are going to cave any day now, right?
New
Like,
Jersey's-
they are just bad.
New Jersey's 8 points out of the league.
You know,
The lead in
Corey
the Metro.
Crawford hasn't, Corey Schneider hasn't won a game in 16 starts.
Seriously?
Yes.
Oh,
You know
well.
how I know this? He's my fantasy goalie.
Do you know who my fantasy goalie that I picked up on waivers 2 weeks ago is right now? Carter Hutton. Thank you,
Oh.
guys.
Someone drafted him in our. It shows what the history of him is in our league. You should look that up because I swear someone picked him up.
I just saw him sitting there, and I was struggling with Philip Grubauer and Jake Allen. I'm like, yes, I could use.
I'm
Carter
holding
Hutton.
on to Corey Schneider just out of history. He can't be this bad forever.
Hedge your bets. Get Kincaid as well.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Kincaid has a great hockey name. The Atlantic has Buffalo leading, as everyone predicted. Tampa Bay and Toronto are up there. Boston's not too far behind. Montreal's in the second wildcard spot. The Rangers, Carolina, and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's actually had a little bit of a bump back up in the standings. Are right there. Detroit in sixth. Well, not sixth. Sorry, four spots out of the wild card. Philly's been miserable. They lost 6-1, I think.
Toronto?
6-0 to Toronto last night. New Jersey, Ottawa, and Florida rounding up the bottom of the East. Nashville continues to lead the Central. Calgary leads the Pacific. Funny enough, it's kind of like the Metro. And then LA continues to be the worst team in the league. So
Weird year. It's a
weird year so far, but it's still pretty early in terms of like standings. The Thanksgiving rule has officially passed, and so we should only see 2 to 4 teams at most who are currently in a playoff spot not being a playoff spot at the end of the year. I predict this year to be an anomaly, and there's going to be as many as 5.
I mean, yeah, we're talking about the league-leading Buffalo Sabres. Montreal's holding a playoff spot. The New York Islanders' underlying numbers are like among the absolute basement in the league, yet somehow keep winning. And yeah, none of this is sustainable. The Pittsburgh Penguins aren't in a playoff spot, and they still have a healthy Crosby and Malkin.
Yep.
The Edmonton Oilers still have a Connor McDavid.
Yep. Well, they got rid of the problem now, which is...
Yeah, that's definitely the problem. They just recalled Jesse Puljujarvi too. Oh my God!
What the hell is going on in Edmonton?
If you want how to ruin a prospect 101, just follow Jesse Puljujarvi's trajectory since the day he was drafted.
You could almost say that for every single pick Edmonton's had
No,
in
they've
the
had
first round, other than Connor McDavid. Who
They've
has projected better?
they've had a couple first round picks really pan out. Like Taylor Hall won an MVP.
Oh yeah, well not anymore.
Jordan Eberle.
He didn't win that on Edmonton.
Jordan Eberle's been a consistent 20 goal
He
scorer in
didn't.
the NHL.
Mostly not on Edmonton anymore.
They had the draft pick that got Matt Barzal.
Yeah, did he
Like-
culture in
Culture,
Edmonton?
Yeah, that's true. The culture's big. They're all about culture.
You know, that was a really unintentional pun.
I know, but I decided to run with it because it was hilarious.
Edmonton, wow.
Edmonton, yeah.
We could do this could be an Oilers.
Is there
podcast.
any talk of the Katz family wanting to push out Shirley? I have not heard an inkling of dissatisfaction from upper
Okay,
management.
so here's what I have essentially heard from a lot of reputable hockey sources. Chiarelli's job right now basically hinges on whether or not the Oilers make the playoffs this year. So if I was an Oilers fan, I'd actually be rooting for them to miss again, just so they can.
And this is a tough year because the Pacific is weird.
And as a Red Wings fan, I really want the Oilers to make the playoffs because that's one more bad GM employed by another NHL team that our GM could exploit.
That's true. It's hard to balance subjectively being a Red Wings fan and like objectively as a hockey fan saying, no, don't waste Connor McDavid anymore. And like, there was a small sense of satisfaction to seeing Sidney Crosby cement his legacy because being the best player in the world, you want to see the success come with it. It's like scoring the most points in your fantasy season, but not being first place. You know, it's just like that.
Well, it's even this year the perfect example. There's a different air around Alex Ovechkin now. He's no longer the best player to never win a cup. No, it's not. He is now one of the all-time greats, and there's nobody debating it.
No, he actually just woke up last Saturday for the first time
His
since
hangover is
yeah.
finally ended.
And has piled in 17 goals
Yeah.
since.
He's like, how many score do I have? 17. Alright. Okay. I can make do with that. We're going to head over.
Oh my god, we didn't even talk about the newest update in the Ottawa Senators saga.
Oh, goodness.
Updates. They traded the guy who was sitting in the front seat of the Uber video for a conditional 6th round pick. And
Yeah,
for anybody-
Weidman should have been worth
Yeah, for anybody who's wondering, take Nick Jensen and give him a bit more offense, and you have Chris Weidman. And we're talking about Nick Jensen getting like a third at the deadline.
Yeah.
Ottawa's version of Nick Jensen just got a conditional 6th. Ew.
On a team that just lost their best defenseman.
Yeah.
Who's their best defenseman?
Now I don't know.
Now it's
Oh,
Dion
so-
Phaneuf's-
No,
Sorry.
that was Shabbat.
Oh, I thought you meant he got injured. He's on my fantasy
Oh,
team.
no.
Oh, God.
I was saying
Don't
Carlson.
do those things to me.
Yeah, no. It's Shabbat now, but it was Carlson, and you don't want just one great defenseman on your team. You want this is gonna turn into stupid. Anyways, so they traded away Wyden for a pittance. Granted, he wasn't doing amazing this season. Granted, Ottawa's a tire fire.
And that wasn't even the worst thing that happened to Ottawa this week.
So
Again.
Eugene is, digging trenches and
yeah, not breaking ground trenches.
Yeah, not the good
Do
ones.
you want to give the overview on this whole arena situation?
I'll
Yeah.
give the overview.
Evan's got it. Evan's our money man.
I'm leaving.
Oh yeah, do the overview.
Oh,
You actually don't know the overview.
I've only seen a little bit on Twitter.
Jeez, Evan, shut
Wasn't
up.
it the?
God.
Let me take a stab at it.
All
It
right.
was
This is our worst
Eugene
episode ever.
got into an argument or a disagreement with the other person who was putting up the bid to build the arena, or the contractor.
So I don't think
Is
we've
that
we've talked about the whole situation on the podcast before. So
Oh, I've talked about it.
have we
Okay, enjoy that conversation.
It's
the prime piece of land in downtown Ottawa that everybody's bidding on? Yeah.
the reason Melnick is hanging on to this team is because their value is at an all-time low. But currently, the team is located in Canada, Ontario, which is not in Ottawa. It takes about 45 minutes to get
45
there.
minutes, yeah.
The issue is not that it's not in the downtown center. The teams have been successful playing in other places. It's hard to play in a national capital and get that prime real estate. But there's one main thoroughfare going in and out. In Ottawa is cold and snowy and icy, and that gets jammed up fast. Hockey's played in the winter. You can see where this is going. You move the team to downtown Ottawa, the Ottawa being the second biggest metropolitan area in Canada.
There's
behind
no
Toronto.
way that's accurate.
How?
Montreal, Vancouver, Ottawa is not that big of a town.
Sorry.
Kitchen, the Tri-Cities here might be bigger.
Ontario. I meant Ontario.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I said Canada, and I was like, what's the issue here? And then you said Montreal. I was like, no. Anyways, Ottawa is a huge metropolitan area. Probably, I would hazard a guess and say 1 million people in the surrounding area.
About that, yeah.
Yeah. So you put that team in the downtown core where the federal employees, which is a huge workforce from Ottawa, can reach it. Everyone in like tech companies have started going to Ottawa. Like there's a huge population in Ottawa. You can make the game.
It's downtown in a major metropolitan area. There's
teams,
a ton of people.
The fact that the team would move there, value doubles. Melnick doesn't want to own this team right now. He's holding out. It's because it's the good business to hold this team.
I disagree with that. I think he actually thinks he can right this ship
because he's a raving lunatic.
Yeah, I agree with that. But so
and it's a slam dunk deal, and he's essentially tanked it. It was a slam dunk deal, and he's tanked it.
Yeah, because he's trying to get the city to pay for almost all of it, from the sounds of it.
Insane.
And because all this news broke rather rapidly this week, where a rumor came out that the Senators had like a week or 2 weeks to make something happen here. Like you have to get so many ducks in a row to get. It's called Le Breton Flats. That's the piece of land they're going for. You have X amount of time to get it done. And so everybody's like, that's a weird demand by the city to give like a hard deadline on that. And then it came out that Eugene Melnick was suing the guy his partner that he was working on this bid with or something like that. And then his partner countersued him over this. So they're fighting over something. So it looks like they're just out because it went from you have a deadline to get the ducks together to the lawsuit basically saying, yeah, no, we can't do this. And I'm angry at my partner for not doing it. His partner's like, no, I didn't screw this up. You screwed this up. So now they're suing each other. So this couldn't have gone any worse in any way, shape, or form other than if Eugene Melnick found a way to accidentally burn down that part of the city. It's staggering how Eugene Melnick can find a way to fall backwards and then somehow roll down a hill every time something happens.
I feel so bad. I feel bad because the fans of the Ottawa Senators should have their team closer to them. I love when a team is in the downtown core or in the city core without it being detrimental to the city, which is don't make the city pay for the arena. And on that note, the LCA has had some issues raised with it because there's supposed to be a lot more development than there is right now. And the city foot the bill for that, and things are looking kind of slow, but that's for another day. I feel for fans of the Senators because the Le Breton Flats deal meant your team is closer to you. There's a chance your owner could have sold. The vibe would have been better. Like it just
the Senators don't come close to selling out games.
No, they tarp over their upper bowl.
Yeah,
it's garbage.
The really damning thing for me too is most of the time we know that the NHL front office, like in Bettman's office, that place is just a security vault. No leaks get in or out.
No.
Everything that the NHL is thinking, planning, it's kept very close to the vest. There have been several reports now that the league is very unhappy with how this arena deal has transpired in Ottawa because they thought this was a saving grace. Because if Ottawa's losing money, it's a revenue-sharing league. Like, the whole league suffers. Yeah. So when it's public, if something comes from the front office that they're unhappy with this, that's meant to be public. They wanted that to get out. This is damning. Now, I'm not the guy who ever wants a team to move. I'm not that guy.
No.
Because I understand the fan base is there, but if you have to move the Ottawa Senators to Quebec City to get Eugene Melnick out of this league, I think you have to at this point. I do not want Ottawa to lose their team. I've always had a soft spot for the Senators. They've always been one of the teams I've kind of followed because they are relatively close to me and they're not the Leafs.
I would rather keep him than move him. I don't think moving a franchise is
But what Melnick's doing to this fan base right now just feels cruel.
There must be ways to force him out outside of that.
I'm hoping. I don't know if there is, but whatever they have to do, Melnick has to go. No. It's a black eye on the league. It's a black eye on the fan base. It's mean. It's cruel. It's bad. There is nothing positive happening in Ottawa at all. Because remember the hot start the Senators had? Yeah, that's gone.
That dissipated very fast.
They're actually, fun fact, on pace to allow the most goals in NHL history, or since like 1990 or something like that. It's hilarious how many goals they're allowing.
That's exactly what you need.
Man, it's just sad. I don't have another word to describe it.
I'm going to move us on to Patreon. where all of our Patreon patrons get their comments read out on air, guaranteed, as our way of saying thanks for supporting the show. I know we didn't do overtime at the end of the Ron McLean episode. Patrons will notice that I put up a post, and there was like a maybe post because we weren't sure how much time Ron was going to give us. Fun fact, when we got on the phone with Ron, we were like, well, we know we have like a 45-minute hard time, and he was like, oh god, don't worry about that. He's like, however much time anything goes, which we were thrilled by. We wanted that episode to be just like an encapsulated episode with Ron, because we want to be able to look back on that episode and for you guys people to enjoy it down the road, and so that's why we didn't do the overtime comments. But we appreciate you guys still throwing your comments in. Of course, overtime is happening today. We're going to start with Rowan. Rowan says, you guys did well in the Jersey quiz last week. Proud of you. Ryan, you used plus minus as part of your elite top liner Darren Helm argument the other week. This surely equates to a 3 to 5 episode suspension and an in-person hearing. Oh god, I would love to 3 to 5 episodes off. I'm exhausted. Brad, whilst the Wings Barber Pole TBTC jerseys are amazing, and I truly love them, the Wings should not bring them back. And since you mentioned it, the 2016 Stadium Series jersey is a stone cold atrocity. I've come around on those.
I think if they hadn't gone with the white gloves, it wouldn't have looked as dumb as it did. They're all right, but they're essentially just an inverse of the 08 ones, and they just put it on an angle and tried to be edgy.
I have become the Jersey Genie and can grant you each one Red Wings jersey of any era with any player. Choose wisely. Go ahead, Brad.
I'm gonna go with one that I don't already own, so I'll go with the give me the Asm and Barber Pole. That's my go-to. I'm
gonna go with the Lids. I've set it up so many times, but the Lidstrom 09 Winter Classic jersey, or as I've been told, it's almost identical to the vintage 1927 throwback jersey. I would love that with the C on it. Like I'm still looking around for it. Kurt Fafelsky. Oh, by the way, Rowan, thank you for pointing me to the hockey jersey subreddit. If you guys are ever looking for jerseys, that's a great community to refer to. Kurt Fafelsky says, a couple of episodes ago, you guys debated this. It's Cholosky. Art Ragnar is horrible at interviewing, but he led with the question in this interview, and he links to it, so patrons can head. It's part of the official Wings podcast. Luckily, Dennis is a great interview. The Niebler said, sung to the tune of Baby Shark. You want to read this, Brad?
Nope.
I actually don't. I've purposely avoided listening to it. But he said,
man, there's club remixes for it. They're playing it, the college bands are playing it in stadiums.
Dylan Larks, do. Is that how I... Dylan like Larks, do.
Shark, do.
Dylan Larks, do. Dylan Larks, do. I tried listening to another Red Wings podcast, which will remain nameless, but I can say I was severely disappointed. The hosts weren't well informed, had terrible opinions, and swore a lot. You might be the best Red Wings podcast, but don't let it go to your heads. That means a lot. We do try. And
I never judge a podcast on opinions because everybody's got different ones.
But we're glad you guys are enjoying this. And I know we shoehorn this everywhere. If you can think of things for us to be better, we want to be the best Red Wings podcast there is. Tell us. Ron McLean interview was dope. Did you hear them talk about Tom Wilson on 31 Thoughts? I know you hate him, but I think he's a difference maker and a player I'd like on my team, minus the headshots. Honestly, Tom Wilson is an effective guy. I don't think he's worth his money, but he's an effective player.
Tom Wilson is everything we hoped Justin Abdelkader would be.
Yeah.
He's gritty. He throws hits. He throws enough hits that it does rattle the other team a little bit. He's the guy who comes in and defends another teammate if there's a dirty hit thrown. He scores goals. He sets goals up. But he's going to end somebody's career one day.
Yeah.
Like, I sent out, because Tom Wilson has no redeeming qualities as far as a person when it comes to the way he plays hockey. I even, threw out a joke tweet where, Cat Washington just scored a garbage goal. I mean, it was a nice shot, but it was scored by literal garbage. Tom Wilson, and, a bunch of Caps defenders came out, and they're like, yeah, but he's a guy you'd love to he's a good player that you'd love to have on your team. And I'm like, yes, and one day he's going to end the career of another good player. So... Nobody's knocking Tom Wilson as a hockey player. Everybody knows this guy can contribute. His contract notwithstanding, but there's an argument to be made he'll be worth it because yada yada yada. He's just an a-hole. And not in the ha 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 he's pissing people off like Thomas Holmstrom used to do. No, he's going to end someone's career.
Yeah, I would love to think that this guy, this is truly the time that he has rethought the way he makes hits and plays the game, but he said that after his last suspension, didn't he? Yeah. I have a hard time.
For the record, I follow a lot of Caps people on Twitter because of the Cup run last year. I just ended up following like a couple dozen of them. So obviously when Detroit was playing Washington, I seen all their tweets coming through. It was actually a little like disheartening seeing how many of these people were like throwing out sarcastic tweets about like in support of Tom Wilson and like how his suspension was dumb and all that.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, you can like the player all you want, but you're like throwing shade out there about him giving Oscar Sundqvist a concussion and breaking Zach Aston Reese's jaw.
Face laceration.
That's not funny.
No. Somewhat, like, you know what I predict's going to happen? Tom Wilson's going to go a long time, enough where the clock's going to run out on his, like, previous infractions rule, and then he's going to make another terrible hit, and then he's not going to get suspended enough because they won't be able to apply the previous infractions because it was too long ago, and the whole suspension's going to come up again on whether Tom Wilson's a truly dirty player. And you're going to repeat ad nauseum until the league changes this in the CBA and truly gives the suspension the teeth that it needs to. I don't think Tom Wilson should have got that money back. I don't think he should have had the, like, he missed the games for sure, but anyways, I like the guy in terms of how effective he is. I thought he was a big part of their cup run. It's great to see that kind of player be effective. Definitely gives energy and life to the fan base and the team. It gives them personality, but you just can't be hurting your fellow hockey player like that.
I even remember in the game, I think it was Glendening threw a huge hit on Wilson, like beautiful hit, shoulder right into the middle of the chest, dropped him, and some Caps blog or something put out a tweet of it, and it's like, Tom Wilson gets a huge hit from Luke Glendening. Wilson has been suspended for 4 games. And I'm like, buddy, that's not the same.
No, that's not like that. This isn't like a Tom Brady Deflategate thing.
Yeah,
which actually might piss people off more. Yeah,
it's not those guys in Buffalo showing up with the every game with the Tom Brady sits when he pees sign. You're joking about something that was disgusting.
We're going to move on. He says, also you should be drinking, or the Niebler continues to say, also you should be drinking Weiser's pre-mixed old-fashioned cocktail, now available at LCBO. Oh, I've never had that, but that actually sounds great. Fricking delicious. I feel like Ryan would be too pretentious to enjoy it. No, that actually sounds good.
Doesn't Nick work with Weiser's in some capacity?
I think so. Nick Sagan, managing editor of wingsnation.com.
Nick, what is this delicious drink he speaks of?
How
do we get samples?
You know what I've recently been drinking? Because I'm kind of a wimp with like hard liquor. I've been drinking a lot of amaretto sours.
That's Crystal's go-to.
Oh god, it's so good. And it's supposed to be however many parts amaretto and then some kind of bar lime or lemon juice or whatever you have, and then simple syrup, and which is dead simple to make, but you don't always have it on hand. You don't always have the volition to do it. Get lime cordial from the grocery store, like $2 for like a liter bottle. 2 parts amaretto, 3 parts lime cordial, ice, shake it. Oh god, crush those.
Crystal's got a whole slew of different whiskey sours and amaretto sours. Try it blended. That's her go-to.
Blended?
Like, it's like kind of like a slushy.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's a game changer. I watch your YouTube channel for the first time and it's just awkward. Does Evan ever look away from his phone? No. Yeah, we don't love... Truly, like, we don't love doing the like, recording the YouTube videos of the episodes, but people call for it. One day when we have a proper space and equipment and production value where we need to do YouTube videos, we'll do more like one-off YouTube videos or like kind of Steve Dangle style stuff. We just don't have that right now and we're doing what people have asked for. We know we look stupid. Evan never looks away from his phone.
I feel like because of the way I have to sit to talk in the microphone, everybody's just judging my posture the whole time because it's so bad because I'm like hunched over.
Yeah, it's hard. Athens C is looking super dynamic and Josh Allen is starting Sunday. Well, he started
Josh Allen
today.
has won. Josh Allen rushed for 100 yards.
99. Evan Beckner says, holy shit, boys, Ron McLean. Nice. Thank you, Evan. Advanced Water says, hey guys, started listening this preseason and want to show my support. Love the dub. Also, shout out to Ryan for messaging me and telling me to check out this podcast. So glad you tuned in and thank you for becoming a Patreon supporter. That's amazing. Welcome to the family. Dan Bell says, hey guys, hope all is well. Awesome interview with the midweek. How about the Wolverines? I don't want to talk about it.
No, it's just...
Been a fan for a long time, but man, I think today stopped me from getting excited about any future season or big game. What a dud Harbaugh is. Anyways, man, the Wings are fun to watch, even in a loss, which is true. It's nice to see a future in this team. I just hope the winning doesn't lead to a Blashill extension. Those breakouts are some kind of stupid. Evan, if you're there, I hope you're doing well after the Tigers' loss. Hope all my U.S. peeps had a good Thanksgiving. Cheers. Oh, happy American Thanksgiving to all our American listeners. Sorry, we forgot.
Yes.
It's a running joke. You started on Jay and Dan, where American Thanksgiving, or in Canada as we call it, Thursday. I use that line every year. Arjun Shankar says, here are my unpopular opinions for you guys to comment on. I think Wings fans are spoiled in regards to our captain, and I think it was the wrong choice to have no captain this year. Before this year, the Red Wings have never gone captainless, and in my opinion, it's worse to have no C than it is to have a non-Hall of Fame one. In the 73-74 season, we had 7 captains. It only became so prestigious when we had a good string of luck. Cronwall should have been the captain this year. Ooh, I agreed with you up until Cronwall.
I don't necessarily disagree with it because I am of the mindset. I hate when teams don't have captains. To me, it's always just a cop-out. And yeah, if you didn't want to give Larkin the C this year, for the record, before I go into this, I would have given Larkin the C this year and just run with it. But if you didn't feel Larkin was ready for the C, which I can see a valid argument for, he's never worn a letter before, sure. Cronwall's retiring at the end of this year. Let him get his, hey, thanks for your service. Here's your C for the year. Groom Larkin because he's getting it next year whether you retire or not. Are we clear? I actually agree with that mindset of if you're going to have a C and you don't feel Larkin's ready, yeah, give it to Cronwall. I would have just given it to Larkin though, and groomed him in a down year.
Second controversial point. Also, I think Cronwall is more handsome than Zetterberg or Lidstrom. This is a distinct and separate opinion from the fact that I think he should have been captain. Okay, this one has merit. Cronwall is traditional Swedish pretty. Blonde hair, blue eyes, light face. Zetterberg's a hunk, though, man. Zetterberg's a hunk. Brad.
We'll get Crystal on an episode soon and settle this.
Yeah. Alex Toger, who I believe is new. Yeah, he says, hey guys, I'm a new Patreon, and honestly I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. I've been a listener from day one and have loved every episode. Thank you for joining, Alex. That means a ton. The fact that you chose to support us and have been listening for so long means the world to us, so thank you. And welcome as well to the family. Did you guys see Cronwall take that quick rush up to the center in the third of the Buffalo game? I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's happening? He's looked like... He's heard me call him slow and, like, ineffective, and he is just, like, I don't know, cortisone straight to the knee every game, and just, he's been all over the place.
Well, there's something to be said about who you play with will affect how you play. He's been with Cholowski for the better part of 20 games now. Just saying, maybe it's reinvigorated him.
I had flashbacks of 08, then I realized it was 10 years ago and I was still in middle school. Also, Ryan, I remember a few episodes ago saying you like the Air Disasters show. If you're ever on the west side of Michigan, I'll take you flying. I'm a flight instructor. Hell yeah, that'd be amazing. I love flying. Thanks for putting out awesome stuff, and I can't wait to keep supporting you. Thank you, Alex. We'll definitely take you up on that. Blake Medler says 2 words. Joe Velen-Oh.
Yes.
That is all.
Yes.
Clayton Van Dyken says, hey guys, first off, congrats on getting to interview Ron. If I may offer a piece of advice, though, always somehow say who the person is or what they do. Obviously, we all know who Ron McLean is, but I understand that a lot of your audience are probably Americans who don't know much about him or hockey in Canada. That's a great point. When I listened back, I was like, we probably should have given him some intro. So, apologies if any of you had to Google afterwards, and we will keep that in mind. So,
to be fair, this was also the most prepared we've ever been for an interview.
Brad after was like, we were talking about just like how elated we were. Brad was like, your hand was shaking when the interview started. We dialed, and Ron picked up, and I went, oh god, we have to start talking. I wasn't expecting to answer the phone. Continues to say, I have somewhat of a random point to bring up, but I've wanted to say that I hate people citing the Hall Larson trade when citing how much a right-handed defenseman are at a premium. Are they at a premium? Sure. Is that the price for an okay number 4 right-handed D? No. Chiarelli's just an idiot. People need to stop saying that's the price of a right-handed D because it's not. Carlson arguably got less than Larson did, partially because Ottawa is just a frickin' mess, sure, but still. I agree. I think it's
just a reference point to show the heavy premium that is put on defensemen in trades these days. Because if you look at any time a defenseman is traded for a forward, the forward is always the better player going back the other way. Always. 100% of the time. At least in recent memory. If you go back, way back, yeah, then obviously the trades back in the day were insane. But in recent memory, I do not remember a player-for-player trade where the team getting the forward wasn't getting the better end of the deal.
He says, in other news, it sounds like me and Rowan might have discovered a brand new name in the game of hockey analytics, so that's really cool. I have to still go back and catch up with the mentions. the Twitter Twitter's been harder and harder to keep up with everything, and I try to take the time to do it for sure, but you guys make it so much more difficult. I love it though. Keep it up. Seriously. It's amazing. Off topic, you guys get your Christmas shopping done yet? No. But I am a great gift giver. I actually have a good gift picked out for these two idiots next to me, so we have to give Crystal her gift. We should do that for Christmas.
Yeah.
And what Pokemon would Athanasiu, Larkin, and Chalosky be if they were Pokemon, just for shits and giggles?
Oh, here we go. Now I'm in my zone.
Athanasiu would be...
Athanasiu, this is easy. Who's the fastest Pokemon?
That's hard. I'm thinking original 151, but I haven't done that in a long
I'm
time.
going to stick to the 151 because it would get way too confusing beyond that. Athanasiu would be... He'd probably be one of the legendary birds.
I'm thinking Zapdos.
That's where I'm going,
Yeah.
Greek Lightning!
Oh god, that's why Zapdos was coming.
Zapdos there.
Larkin, is it weird that I think of Machop when I think of Larkin?
That's a little weird, yeah. I'm thinking like along the lines of a Lapras, like
Lapras is good.
Yeah.
Very solid. For sure not not the best of the best, but like Lapras is very effective.
Yeah, he's the guy who would come in and everything's calm, everything's good. I got this, guys. The majestic leader. And then who was the other one he wanted?
Chalosky.
Chalosky. So the young...
Ooh. Charmander. I give Chalosky Charmander. I'm actually very happy with Charmander. I think I'm extremely right.
You think you're extremely right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm thinking because he's such a cerebral player, he has to be a psychic type. I think. So I'm gonna go with Alakazam. No, he's young. Abra.
Abra I can do, and I like Abra actually. I would actually.
He's too young for Alakazam. He's Abra.
Stan Olsen says, "Hey guys, hope all is well. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone." Oh, by the way, Stan, Mel says to say hi. Stan made an impression. The two people we brought to the game have both made an impression in their own ways. I went to the game in DC Friday. We definitely looked like we outplayed them for most of the game. We like to roll out Glendenning a lot, LOL. And have you guys seen anything of the draft-eligible prospect, Victor Soderstrom? Last year he played on the same SHL team as Bookfist, so he played in his shadow. He may not be as gifted offensively, but his shot is really good, and he plays exceptionally well in his own zone. He keeps a really tight gap when he covers skaters, so basically the opposite of Trevor Daly. I'm really high on Byram and Broberg. I think both are top 7 talents, but it's possible we may end up picking a little later this year. So I think there's between 7 to 15, and between 7 to 15, Soderstrom is a solid option.
Don't sleep on York from the USNTDP for defensemen too. There's going to be a good defenseman sitting there between 7 and 10 if that's where Detroit's picking.
I still have a strong feeling that Detroit will be a top 10 pick.
They are. They're like, even beyond this streak, like I said, they're still sitting, 4th or 5th last in the East, and with games in hand, 3 of those teams should pass them. So, I mean, as nice as the streak is, when everything regresses to the means, Detroit's probably picking around where they did last year.
Nick Putty says, Ryan, I may have either seen you or your twin while getting coffee this morning. We both looked at each other like we recognized each other, so I have no idea. Weird that you would be in Wisconsin. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't dare go there while the Packers are winning, the Lions are losing. Anyways, does it bother any of you that the logo on the arena is upside down if you pull it up on Google Earth? You would think some thought would go into that. Some thought would go into that, given anything can be pulled up with the satellite image. P.S. Great interviews lately. I'm fully on board with an interview episode and a regular episode each week. We try to make that happen.
We're trying. Again, not schedules of who we're going to be interviewing do not always allow for that. So,
Nick, you want to know why that logo's upside down? Because it was last minute. Because they're supposed to have an LED roof. And I'm upset still. Justin Kalinsky says, 1, bring back the Greek Lightning shirts. Noted. We are working on it.
Are they not in the Teespring store?
No, we have to regenerate it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. 2, all aboard the Joe Velen-Oh hype train. I call dibs on conductor or fireman. Ooh, fireman's a good one. 3, Michigan. I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. That's exactly how I feel. Genuinely, that's exactly... I'm just so... Michigan sports snatching defeat from the jaws of victory time and time again. I know I tweeted that out word for word, but it's just like, who's 60? Was it 62 points? They're lucky they didn't score another touchdown and make it 69, and then the memeing would have been unbearable. How? How? And the thing is, like, the offense actually came through and like, what did they put up, 39, 35, something?
Isn't defense Harbaugh's thing?
No, but they brought in this wizard defensive coordinator, which held them to the second or fourth most points against in the University of Michigan's history, in the history of the program. I would rather lose to Appalachian State again than watch that game that happened. Anyways, we're gonna head over to Reddit where we have time for a few questions. Top comment today is from B. Clem. I'm done with football. Which it's fair. Dave Athor says, remember a few sessions ago when one of you stated how the worst case scenario for the Red Wings was if Howard had a really, really, really good season and dragged us into the playoffs / away from a high draft pick? Are we there?
Trying to not think about it.
Trying to not think about it is certainly possible. I don't think it will happen. Howard and Bernier, neither of them have put together a 922 full season in a long time.
My biggest concern isn't where Detroit's picking right now. It's that the 3 draft lottery spots right now could theoretically go to Los Angeles, Chicago, Pittsburgh.
I didn't want to think about that.
I'm actively rooting for Pittsburgh to get into the playoffs right now because I can't handle all 3 of them being in the draft lottery at the same time.
Band of Gypsies says there were a lot of calls for Blashill's job after the poor start of the season. Now there's questions as to whether or not he deserves credit for the wins. Where do you guys stand? Luckily, we talked about this earlier.
Yeah, it's... Again, if you're one of those people who bases your opinion on Blashill and whether or not when the team's winning, he's good, when he's losing, he's bad, you need to dig deeper.
He continues to say, personally, I feel like we're winning on the heels of individual efforts and special teams play. My God.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great, yeah. Neither of which have much to do with Blashill or his system. That said, it seems fair to have a reasonable conversation with the state of the team in bad times and in good. This is a great take. Great comment.
Like I said, Blashill has things he's doing well, and he has a lot of things that he's doing poorly. But, again, the best predictor of future performance is past performance, and he's had 4 years of bad.
He says, thanks for bringing us Ron McLean, and more importantly, asking the tough existential hot dog questions that the hockey world needs to know. I'm disappointed you didn't ask him if chili is a soup. That was actually a bullet point. That was going to be a follow-up. If Ron dove into that, we were going to go there. I'm kind of happy he didn't, though. Jacques Strapp says, this is more of a rant than a question. Is anyone else getting tired of the Lose for Hughes campaign slogans littered in every Facebook/Instagram post the Red Wings put out? I am, and here's why. The Wings have never been that team to take #1 and hinge the whole team on one single player's back, the exception being Yzerman as we came out of the Dead Wings era. While I agree Hughes is going to make a big splash anywhere he lands, it just wouldn't feel right, almost. The Wings, since Yzerman, have for the most part been a deep core of solid guys, which some were late rounders. No one knew their names, we got drapes for $1 and a handful of vets past the prime. I feel like we were much like the land of misfit toys and just a melting pot of guys no one really wanted, but we made it work. Hughes is this polished brand new toy who sits on his own shelf. I just don't think it fits a Hockey Town mold per se. Would it be nice to land Hughes? Hell yes, but I'm not going to wish the Wings take the season for the sole purpose of a draft pick who's unproven in the NHL. Possibly more than ever, I've enjoyed watching our young studs develop and flourish. We have a ton of young talent now. To wrap this up, I don't understand why people are on the Lose for Hughes train when we already have a great young talent, but maybe some people have a hard time seeing the wood for the trees. So that's an interesting point. I agree on some things and I disagree on other things, and you're not wrong for having that opinion. Here's where I differ from you. The modern NHL is not the same NHL where the Red Wings got Draper for $1, and the Red Wings don't have anywhere near the depth that they used to, unless you add another gold standard piece on top of them. Sure, it doesn't feel great to grab that guy at the top of the draft because it doesn't feel like you earned him, or it's not as satisfying as drafting Datsuk or Lidstrom in the 5th or the 7th, that kind of thing. Ask Pittsburgh, ask Edmonton if they care about that with McDavid or Crosby, or Ovechkin with Washington, or Kane in Chicago.
My argument is, look to every team that's won the Cup since 2007. They have had a true superstar on their team. So when you were saying the Red Wings right now with how they're building are kind of building the inverse of how the Red Wings in the 80s did. The Red Wings got the superstar in Yzerman and then built a solid group around him. But the important thing to note is when the Red Wings got good, they had Yzerman in his prime. So they had that superstar and then they built around him. The Red Wings now, as far as their prospects and young players go, have an unbelievable supporting cast, but they are lacking the true superstar. As good as we think Larkin, Velen-Oh, and Zadine are going to be, none of them are going to be at the level of a McDavid, a Crosby, an Yzerman, a Lidstrom, etc. So they don't necessarily need it to be Jack Hughes. They could pick 6th overall and draft, I don't know, hypothetically Podkolzin, and he turns into the next Kucherov, and then, it was all a moot point anyway. But best odds are you get Jack Hughes, and he's the most likely to be that superstar. And also the other thing that's a lot different from when the Red Wings were succeeding in the 80s and 90s, or when they succeeded transitioning from the 80s to the 90s, is the Red Wings were ahead of the curve on every other team in the league when it came to scouting, when it came to trading and picking up the misfit toys who other teams didn't want with no trade return. Drafting the Konstantinovs and the Fedorovs out of Russia when nobody thought they would defect. Every team now has an expansive scouting staff who's covering every corner of the globe. The Red Wings no longer have that advantage of just getting to players and knowing about them before anybody knew who they were. That doesn't exist anymore. The Red Wings still have one of the stronger scouting staffs in the NHL, but they don't have that obvious advantage over everybody else. So now you have to do it the modern NHL way, which is you need a superstar and you need a hell of a supporting cast around him. The Red Wings will look like they have the hell of the supporting cast around him in their system. They just need that one guy now.
Wings Fan 64 says last 2 episodes have been fantastic. Great job, guys. Personally, I don't mind the tangents. That Costco bit was hilarious. I'm not going to say who my favorite of you is, but it's Evan. He is all of us. Ron was a gift. Next up is Mickey Redmond. He'd be tough to get since he doesn't do any tech. Mickey Redmond is one of our holy grails of interviews. We would love, we would lose our minds if we got him.
I mean, technically, they don't use your tech as long as they can answer a phone. We can make it work.
Yeah.
The audio quality wouldn't be the best, but whatever.
Line A with a 5-goal night. Do you see anyone in Detroit's system that could ever come close to that performance right now?
Zadine is a kind of similar type player to Line A. That Line A is an interesting case study in that just be really unbelievably good at one specific aspect of the game of hockey and make it work. Because he's not a particularly great skater. He's got good hands, but it's not like he uses them a ton to create scoring chances. Not a physical player. He's not great defensively. He's just got arguably the best shot in the NHL. So every time he gets to use it, good things happen.
And then he says, keep up the good work. Thank you, Wingsfan64. Winged Squigger says, I really wish I could remember the late 90s when all the important teams were good. What late 90s moments are you most nostalgic for? I'd have loved to see the 97 Michigan OSU game because of reasons. I was at best 7 years old in the late 90s. So
late 90s,
I remember the 98 Cup, like 97, 98, but like
I just remember all of the Colorado-Detroit rivalry vividly. So.
Yeah, that really sticks out, but that's also seeps into the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Ando772 says, I know you guys probably have it covered, but the red helmet with the white jerseys.
Oh, I
loves
forgot.
it. Fur came out with the red helmet.
I
don't love it, but it was cool.
It was weird.
Wholesome Red Wings. That was a funny Wholesome Red Wings moment, though.
Yeah.
Also, we picked up these players to help in 1-goal games. Where are they at? Yeah, funny enough. But as we stand right now, where do you think we'll actually finish? At this rate, I don't see us falling to a bottom 4, more or less, being shy of a wild card. Is it a problem if we can finish a game in regular? Do you feel we have too many OT games? I feel like this team has too many OT games. I would love to draw the numbers on most OT games over the past 3 seasons. I think the Red Wings will finish bottom 5.
So right now, as it is, I don't think anybody's going to out-tank Los Angeles or Ottawa. Realistically, I think those are the basement. Vancouver's lost 8 in a row, so they're going to get there fast. Honestly, like I said, anywhere between 3 and 7, I think is my bet. So right around where they were last year. I don't think they're dramatically better. I don't think they're dramatically worse. I think the progression of the young guys in a lot of ways is going to keep them from. Basically, I think they're going to finish about where they did last year because the improvement of several key young players is offsetting the loss of Henrik Zetterberg.
So far.
Okay,
that's all we have for this week. We're about to wrap up this episode, but first we want to thank everyone for listening. All of our supporters, all of our listeners, our Patreon patrons, you guys are the people who make the magic happen, who allow us to do the things like interview Ron McLean. Thank you so much. Our name-level sponsors, Andrew Hassenfratz, Sean Levine, Chad Rorchek, Sky Carcass, Arjun Shanker, Clayton Van Dyke, and Langabeer, Derek Shippert, Kalen Wood, Charlie Elkins, Stan Olsen, and Ryan Lewis. and Dan Bell, and Hannah Lee. Thank you guys so much. If you want to help support the podcast, follow us on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod, and then go to our bio and follow our individual accounts. Brad, myself, Ryan, and Evan even are all very active on Twitter. Yeah. Follow on iTunes, or follow however you get your podcast. Subscribe. Leave us a rating on iTunes. That's huge for us. Wherever you can leave a rating. Do the hashtag, do the thing on Spotify for the Winged Wheel Pod. Just enjoy the show. Interact with us. Always give us feedback. We're always trying to get better. We want to be the best ratings podcast on the airwaves, and hopefully we're well on the way.